Hi and welcome to Loreline Yoga. Today's practice is going to center on the hamstrings, the erector muscles in the mid-back, and some upper back stretching as well for a very nice and slow restorative practice. Dress in something comfy and meet me on your mat or your bed or wherever. All right, today you're going to want to bring a blanket or a pillow or all of the above. I always come super comfy to my mat, and you are always welcome to do the same. In fact, you can do most of this practice in bed also if you need to. I only left this little bit in here so you can see how I am unhurried and unrushed and moving my body in a way that's not going to create undue tension. In fact, look at the way I'm using my hands to brace myself up via the pillows. And as always, I drink lots of water, and I highly recommend that you do the same. Chug it. Ultimately, we are going to start off on our backs in corpse pose or shavasana, which I know is typically saved for the ends of practices, but I also like to start most of my personal practices with that because of how much I've been working on my spine and my back lately. I'll just say that. I love to bend my knees into each other like this during Shavasana. Doing so basically makes it so you don't have to take any effort to keep your knees upright and bent. So you can fully relax the body. And a fun fact is bending your knees in a supine pose like this will shorten your diaphragm and make it easier to breathe. So we're going to be here for a while. This is a really slow-paced restorative practice. I do spend typically a few minutes at least in each pose. Relax each part of your body. Relax your face. Use a mudra if you would like to. I can tell you more about mudras in another video, but I find them to be super helpful to bring balance and more calm into my body. Each yoga practice for me is basically a moving meditation because I'm focusing more on my breath than anything else and basically looking down upon myself in like a mind's eye view, which helps keep me centered and focused and present in what I'm doing. Meditation and yoga really do go hand in hand, so if you're not big on meditation or you've never tried it, I highly suggest giving it a go. Yoga is all about using the breath to find more energy and to heal the body in practicing how we place our limbs, our body itself. So when I am still and quiet, I'm focusing on my breath and kind of thinking healing thoughts. We're going to want to take some deep, audible breaths. That's going to help relax your body and signal to your brain and your nervous system that it is time to relax. Feel free to move at any time. You don't have to stay still by any means. A nice windshield wiper of the legs always feels good on the glutes and the hips, which is what I'm doing here. Also, peep that Shunya mudra that I'm doing there. It's funny how I automatically end up doing it and don't even realize I'm doing it until after the fact. But that's the mudra that helps with ear issues like tinnitus, which I've got, and vertigo, which I've got. So here we're thinking back to the us in our mind's eye. You may also hear this referred to as being the observer, and I might also in the future refer to it as such. It's basically where, whether your eyes are open or closed, you can kind of think about yourself in your mind's eye and just use that to help center you and focus on what you're doing, and don't worry about anything else. Nothing else matters right now, just this. Just trying to stretch a little, breathe, and tend to your body. So right now I've got my knees over on the left side of my mat kind of stacked up. Now this is going to stretch your hips and your low back. Don't push it if you're having any sort of pain. But if you aren't having pain and you need a bigger stretch, you can always take that top foot and put it on the lower leg's thigh or knee. So it'll be kind of like twisty legs, and I mean, you can always try it, and if it's not right for you, then just put it back to your stacked legs. I know personally I've got way too much pain in my hips to even attempt that right now, so that's why this is just a soft, very, very restorative practice. I invite you to take a full body stretch. Lift your arms up above your head. Get your legs out long. You can always feel free to use props, like I'm grabbing onto this little drawer thing that I have to kind of allow my arms to relax. Since I'm working on my hamstrings lately, I am flexing my feet here, but you can point yours, flex them, maybe do a bit of both. Also, pardon my microphone here, I'm still figuring out what kind of audio I want to use for these practices. And one of the things that I absolutely love to do is self-massage when I can. So I am currently playing with my hair and scratching my scalp and breathing. It's actually really interesting. There's a whole bunch of follicles in your hair, and each follicle can detect even a change in the wind. So whenever you give your scalp and your hair follicles some love, it causes intense relaxation because they're all getting the same signal at the same time that what you're doing feels amazing. This can cause an automatic relaxation response in the body. Feel free to use this trick in person or in real life to help yourself relax in stressful situations. I encourage you to give it a go. Even if you don't have any hair, you can still massage the scalp and release a ton of tension in there. You've got so many muscles and fascia, and I can't even begin to explain it to you right now, but just do yourself a favor and give yourself a little bit of love today. Especially if you wear glasses like I do, it can really accumulate in the back of your scalp and around your ears, so give some love to that area as well, which is actually what I'm doing right now. You can always ask a friend, a partner, mom, dad to help you with this. It feels even better when somebody else does it to you because you don't have to deal with it. So love each other, love yourself. So if I can get some better audio, honestly, this section would have sounded awesome. I was hoping that my little lapel mic would have picked it up when I was scratching my scalp and everything for such a long time during this practice. Honestly, it felt amazing, but I was like, let's see what happens with the sound here. So maybe in the future, if I'm able to purchase some really high quality ASMR microphones, then I will release just the silent practices of these, including lots of scalp scratching. Okay, so we are about to get up. Now you don't have to kind of rock back and forth like I just did here. You can get up, take as long as you need to get up, and do it however you need to. We're gonna land in Dandasana or staff pose and eventually make our way to Paschimottanasana, which is seated forward fold. So tie back your hair if you need to, like I'm doing. But whenever you're ready, you're gonna sit up tall with your legs out in front of you. I'm kind of grabbing onto my toes with my fingers to help create a sort of balance here that will allow you to kind of relax the weight of the head over more than I find I can typically do otherwise. I was getting an incredible stretch in my low back, my traps. I could even feel this one in my collarbones whenever I lifted my head and tried to keep my spine as straight as I could. Super good for your hamstrings. You're going to want to make sure your tailbone points down. lengthen your spine. Use a pillow if you want to. This entire practice, every single yoga practice that you do, is entirely customizable. Don't ever feel like you need to attain a certain shape. You can modify with props or pillows. And this time I have found myself taking the Anjali Mudra or the Namaste Mudra or the Praying Hands Mudra. Basically, you just want your palms and your fingers to be touching as much as they can. This is probably one of the better known mudras. We're gonna spend another couple of minutes here in this space between Dandasana and Paschimottanasana before we move into cat-cow. So if you feel like you're already ready for cat-cow, then go for it. Or if you're doing something totally different, you're on a side quest and we're on the main story, then you do you. It's fine. We can all meet up in cat-cow or what have you. In the event that you find yourself losing focus or interest or feeling a little bored or like, I don't know what to do, just kind of try to focus on your breath. And I find that when I do that, my body kind of takes over sometimes. And that's why I really think of these as moving meditations, because I really don't think about what I'm doing. I just kind of let my body be my guide. And a lot of times it surprises me what kind of practice I ended up doing and what my body definitely knew that I needed more than what I even knew. Hopefully that makes sense, but anyways, feel free to wrap your arms underneath and around your thighs, kind of give yourself a little hug, rock back and forth. We're gonna start our transition into cat-cow, so I'm folding up my blanket and moving from Dandasana into Sukhasana or easy pose or crisscross applesauce. We're just gonna spend a little bit of time here before we move on. Feel free to kind of experiment with any sort of transitions between the poses. So, for instance, going from Sukhasana into all fours or tabletop position, I can kind of roll onto my knees only on one side. The other side, I can't do it. So that's just what happened there. So it's just interesting how different the sides of your body can be. But I'm using the blanket to pad my knees for a good old cat-cow. I'm also experimenting with just a flat back position and pulling my front body up to meet the back body. For anyone new to cat-cow, basically just go to all fours. Make sure your hips are over your knees, your legs are hips distance apart, and wrists are under the shoulders. And then you just alternate between rounding the spine like I'm currently doing, and then arching the spine. So cat, cow. I'm also moving back and forth and ultimately into child's pose. You can always spend more time in cat-cow if you'd like, but that particular day I really needed more of the erector muscle stretching, so I can really feel this through my mid-back. You're gonna sink your hips into your heels. Your belly should rest on your thighs. And you can come to rest the head on your mat or a block or a pillow or your hands. I usually do spend quite a bit of time in this position, and its different modifications. You can extend your arms, you can widen your legs to the width of your mat while keeping your feet together. You can sniffle into your microphone, like I did during my practice. I'm gonna raise my upper body here for a minute into hero's pose. Again, using my Anjali Mudra for balance. And I typically do keep my eyes closed as much as I can throughout my practices. Again, that just reiterates to me my mind's eye, and to me it is easier to focus and kind of feel out what I'm doing rather than focusing on what it looks like. So then I'm diving forward and kind of using my Anjali Mudra hands to rest my head on. So you can experiment with whatever modifications you can. I know I'm probably repeating myself, but like I can't stress enough that you can really make each yoga practice your own. You don't have to do what I'm doing at all. I actually do like to do yoga videos from like Yoga with Adrienne, and I might start out doing what she's doing, but then my body's like, like, I don't really need that today, but I'll still keep that video on and I'll just do something else. So you never know where your yoga practices are going to take you, so don't be afraid to do something out of the norm. Just do whatever feels good to you. Alright, so at this point we are transitioning back to all fours and into the only downward facing dog of this session. And I meant what I said earlier, like, don't even worry about your preconceived notion of what a downward dog is supposed to look like, because every body is different. Literally everybody's body is different, and if you need to bend your knees generously, then by all means do it. If you can't necessarily lift your bum up enough right now, then so be it. I mean, I have been working on this position for 2 years and this is what it looks like for me, so like, just... Okay, so I'm back to hero's pose while I fold up this blankie, but what I am about to transition into is a pigeon pose, which is one of my favorites. I'm gonna use my pillow to prop each hip up on, so feel free to look at the video if you need to understand what I'm saying. Also, water break, chug it. This is kind of a longer practice. They won't always be this long, so make sure you stay hydrated. If you need to use the bathroom, like, seriously, feel free to interrupt your practice. You don't have to just stay on your mat the whole time. If you have a hectic household and whatnot, just make sure you always return back to your breathing as needed. Getting into this one can be a little bit tricky, but you're basically going to begin in all fours. Bring, in this case, your left foot in and place it down on the mat. You're going to use that pillow to prop up your left hip. Adjust your shin as needed and extend the right leg back on the mat with the top of that foot resting on the mat. Press into your palms to lengthen up through the crown of the head and the spine. Draw the shoulders away from the ears and breathe deeply. You can always lay your chest down on the mat or a pillow or what have you. I used to lay on this giant body pillow mound thing when I first started with this pose, so it's been quite the journey for me to even be able to lift my upper body up like that. So to come out of it, just be careful, please. Move slowly. And breathe deeply, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So all fours, right foot comes in, bend your knee, put that pillow under that bum. Okay, so each side is different. I didn't stay on that side quite as long, so transitioned into easy pose and getting ready ultimately for modified Shavasana. I'm putting my pillow underneath my lumbar this time and getting ready to settle into Shavasana. So at this point, I'm hoping you can see why I said you could probably do this in bed. I mean, besides the downward facing dog, and I mean, even then, you can do that in bed, so. Anyways, we can melt the knees together like we did earlier. Kind of cactus the arms here, bend them at the elbow and up. Really just do whatever feels comfortable for you with your arms. You can even take a mudra now if you want to. You can lay the arms like a traditional shavasana where they're down by your side and palms up. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to practice here with me today. I'm gonna stop talking now so we can enjoy the rest of this shavasana in relative silence. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Love and light always.